Mik, Inuit kange, ohalang amen ilinerate to hatani vinyo mitsano. Sukata kala niang sila katsungalo ay pagod. Tamang ko yo si mga matana pichutikitsugo. Ohalo ang wala ngayong ilinerate to hatani vinyo mitsano amalo hano inusibur sukata mga tana pichutikitsugo. So not saying was it. When the Kayama Unit, Rapu Yunga, Kutra, Muto Yunga, Man Makivik Penasusu Tuma, Manchami. Hi, my name is Robert Watt. I'm originally from Kutrak. I'm based out of Montreal now. I am presently working for Makivik Corporation as an assistant to the corporate secretary elected. I'm going to be talking about, I wasn't sure how long I had to speak, so I've made a speech here. I've timed it, and I was hearing some speeches yesterday, and they seemed a bit long, so I'm going to take my time. It's a very sensitive issue that I'm going to be talking about. It's about the residential school and how that has impacted us in regards to how we bring up our children. So, here we go. Inuit families and their entire way of life have been profoundly affected by Canada's residential school system. When the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada set out to discover the truth about residential schools and their impacts on Canada's Indigenous peoples, our Inuit leaders were adamant that Inuit experience be fully explored by TRC in a culturally appropriate way and in a way that allowed survivors and their family members to share their experiences in their own language and in their own communities. In 2009, an agreement to create an Inuit subcommission within TRC was created to ensure the experiences of Inuit survivors and families were properly included in the work of the Commission. The work of the Inuit subcommission was not to duplicate the research, policies, or planning of the TRC, nor to act as a separate structure or process. Its work would be planned, orchestrated, and implemented within the overall work of the Commission. I was one of the co-directors, and I had a co-director, Jennifer Hunt-Poitra, and we developed a plan to have Northern Statement Gathering take place. And these were the guiding principles for community hearings in the North. Communities were well informed about the mandate of the TRC. Former students who decided to share their story knew what the process would be ahead of time. A support system was in place for the individual as well as family as required. The language of choice for the former student was available in both written documents and the language used. The former student was able to tell his or her story in an environment that met his or her personal and safety needs. After the session was completed, ceremonies such as prayers, feasts, and other meaningful activities and celebrations take place. Post-event counseling continues with the former student and family as needed. Where available, local support groups were available to provide more healing. So, in less than 3 years, the Inuit Subcommission held 37 community statement gathering events in the North and recorded approximately 1,000 statements, privately and or in a public forum, from Northern survivors and others impacted by residential school. I didn't want to talk about what they talked about, so I decided to bring in a statement that was provided publicly. She was one of the first to provide the statement. Her name is Luisa Ningyo. She gave her statement in Inuit. I transcribed it and translated it, and it was a public hearing in Inuit, March 15, 2011. And this is what she had to say. There were 3 small outposts between the community of Inuit and Puhunitu, north of here. As well, in the south of here, there were I believe there were 4 or 3 outpost camps. The most northerly outpost is where my parents and family relatives came from. We occupied that area permanently, hardly ever seeing anyone else, let alone any formal schooling. Unless, of course, we'd follow to a trading post to go resupply with store-bought items. We hardly saw any white men. No one was there to bother us. We were quite self-sustained, relying a lot on country food. In fact, we had our own traditional medicines and traditional practices. We had individuals that were able to do surgery, not to mention individuals who were able to perform midwifery practices. These were Inuit. We had kayak and dog teams for transportation. There are quite a few of us in our camp. That is how our lives were before our lives were interrupted. I do recall a white priest coming into our camp, but aside from that, we rarely saw outsiders. Then, we were told to go to school here now. Children ages 4, 5 to 10 years of age now had to attend school. At that time, I was 9 years of age. The 4 or 5-year-olds were so small. If you have seen the pictures, it's those small ones. To be sending 4-year-olds away to school just never seemed right to me. As an Inuit, I would never take 4-year-olds, children from other societies such as the French, Chinese, or the Germans. But that is what happened to us. We were controlled by the white man. As a result, the 3 of us were taken from our parents' care. My parents no longer had children to care for as a result. Even our youngest sibling, whom my parents adored most, now had to attend school. Other parents lost up to 7 children that day. Some lost 2 to 3, 4 children. We were advised that we must go to school in Inuit now. My mom once told me, when we were no longer in the camps, it was like there were no more birds, for it got so quiet. For many years until recently, I thought we were unique in that sense, to have 4 and 5-year-olds being sent away for school. But this also happened across Canada. Children that still wanted to smell their parents were sent away, far away. Our parents were advised and threatened that if we didn't go to school, they'd lose their family allowances. As a result, they gave in. There were a total of 58 individuals that were sent here. 6 individuals have since passed away. So, here we were in Inuit, attending residential school, a new community that really was not ready to receive a large influx of kids that really didn't want to be here. While here, we will be reminded we are from the camps, from the north, not of this community. Kids from Inuit, including their parents, insisted in reminding us on a daily basis that we're not from here. They were mean and scary. There are many aspects of Inuit life we had to let go as a result of white man's control. Rites of passage were critical. Inuits made sure we acquired adequate survival skills. We had strong kinship ties within our families. We had chores to do. Those are elements that we had to let go since the white man took control of our lives. That is our reality today. So that's her statement. Historically, assimilation into Canadian society saw the breakdown of the parents' roles as primary educators of their children. More recent experience with residential schools further weakened the important link with parents, extended family, and community. Grandparents, the child's namesake, and midwives saw the child through each of his or her milestone from birth to becoming a young, responsible, and capable adult. These traditional education and developmental support systems have always belonged to Inuit children as part of their rites of passage through life. The rites of passage was a system that monitored children and skill development in a chronological way where a child was expected to acquire a specific skill before learning a more advanced one. Without the system of a rites of passage, Inuit would not have learned to harness and share and survive the harsh Arctic environment or have allowed Inuit culture and language to survive into the present day. Contemporary barriers for parents and other community members to take a leading role in education stems from the history of assimilation, family and cultural breakdown, and from the lack of opportunity for parents and the community to influence, communicate effectively with teachers, and the lack of opportunity to take ownership of the Western education system. This enfranchisement and lack of opportunity to shape the education system has come at a huge cost in terms of lost human potential, lost opportunities due to lack of qualifications, hunger, and stressors that lead to negative social and community environments environments which in turn affect student attendance and performance in school. Unaddressed, this leads to a vicious cycle of apathy and learned helplessness when it comes to supporting children to attend and complete school. Through local, regional, and national collaborative efforts, there is a renewed hope and optimism to improve education outcomes for Inuit by aiming to increase Inuit student attendance and graduation rates through sustainable projects that foster partnerships between parents, educators, and key stakeholders and institutions. Through careful planning, these projects and partnerships are economical, efficient, and effective. One example is the pilot project in Inuit, which is entitled Inuit's Rites of Passage, Kindergarten to Grade 12 Parent-Teacher Toolkit. Its objective is to increase student attendance and graduation levels through a network of support systems that incorporates a centuries-old traditional Inuit rights system into the modern education system. This will be accomplished by developing a parent-teacher toolkit that has involvement and input from the parents, local education committees, teachers, elders, and cultural advisors, youth, and other key community stakeholders such as the schools and the family centers. This kind of strategic partnership is an economical approach that is reflective of the Inuit traditional support systems that build responsible and capable individuals, with an extended component to include non-Inuit educators and other community stakeholders and institutions. Tema.